NFL Week 3 is over. Week 4 is here. What's going on, BLV? It's Mitch here. And in this video, weekly, I rank all 32 teams in the NFL from the worst, number 32, the very worst team, and there are a lot of bad teams in this NFL, all the way to number 1. Who is the best team in the NFL right now? It feels like you could maybe name 2, 3, maybe even 4 teams that have an argument to be the best in the league. Let me know in the comment section below, which team do you think is the best in football right now? Let me know your thoughts, your agreement, your disagreement on my NFL power rankings for week number 4 after week number 3. Gronk, spike that like button, and let's go. Beginning with the worst team in the NFL, it's without a doubt still the Chicago Bears. I made that adjustment a week ago, 2 weeks ago. The Chicago Bears are still the worst team in football. They were absolutely slaughtered in Arrowhead versus the Chiefs. A game so bad, so lacking competition, that despite having Patrick Mahomes in a game at home with only 3 other games playing, actually it was only 2 because they were the third, with only 2 other games on at the same time, with Taylor Swift at the stadium, they actually chose to play the Cardinals game during the fourth quarter over this game. They removed this game from the air. That's how bad the Chicago Bears are. That in a game with Taylor Swift and Patrick Mahomes, they are so bad and so unwatchable. That is why they're number 32. I don't have to give another reason other than the fact they have a combination of a quarterback and a defense that makes your eyes bleed. They are number 32. The second worst team in the NFL, I'm going with the Denver Broncos. This is probably an overreaction, but I don't care. When you lose a game by 50 points in the NFL and you lose allowing 70 points, repercussions must come. People must pay the piper. And in this case, I'm ranking the Broncos second last. They lost to 2 of the worst teams in the NFL, in my opinion, at least bottom 12, bottom 10 teams at home in week 1 and week 2. They lost to the Raiders. They lost to the Commanders. They allowed 70 points in an NFL game to the Miami Dolphins. And Miami might have the best offense in the league. It's certainly the most explosive offense in the league. But to allow 70 points is a downright disgrace. There is a lack of effort from this team. There's a lack of identity from this team. There's a lack of culture and chemistry from this team. Russell Wilson right now, who was terrible last year, isn't even the problem. This defense is atrocious. And the thing is, they allowed 70 to Miami, but they allowed 35 to the Commanders, who scored 3 points versus Buffalo this week. That's how bad Denver is. At number 30, the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers are not a good football team, but they also are a very injured football team. No Bryce Young. Andy Dalton steps in. Andy Dalton throws for over 300 yards in Seattle. Scores 27 points, throwing it to Adam Thielen and DJ Chark, and they're humming. But they still don't beat the Seahawks. Why? Because their defense is beat up. They lost J.C. Horn. They lost Shaq Thompson. Now they have a bunch of injuries across the board defensively to Woods, to Frankie Louvu, to some of their best players on defense. And this defense was really the Panthers' only shot of being a competitive team this year, especially with a rookie quarterback who doesn't look the part of a first overall pick. And now Andy Dalton, the guy that can barely move. He's an old man. Yes, he's the red rifle, but his time has come and gone. This team, lackluster on the offensive line, lackluster at wide receiver. The coaching staff is just overwhelmed. The Panthers are a little bit more competent, a little bit more competitive than number 31 and number 32, but they don't have a lot more talent. I think this team definitely considers trading some potential pieces, to get some picks because they spent a lot of picks on Bryce Young, and they don't have any capital going into a draft that they need a lot of help in. So at number 30, I have Carolina. At number 29, the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals are number 29 after a huge win over the Dallas Cowboys, an extremely impressive win from this coaching staff. Jonathan Gannon was made fun of all offseason. I ranked him as the worst coach in the NFL. That is not facts. That is absolutely cap. The Cardinals fight hard, and Jonathan Gannon has got this team pointing with the arrow up in the right direction. Josh Dobbs is actually playing like not as a bottom 5 quarterback right now. He's making the throws. He is running the football well. He's doing everything he's asked to do. James Conner's running hard. The offensive line, I think, is the unit that is really shocking people. The way they were able to move the Cowboys, the way they were able to gash the Cowboys on the ground, that is thanks to this offensive line that really might be the most underrated in football, with Paris Johnson and Humphreys and Hernandez and Froholt. These guys are all playing good football for the Cardinals up front. The defense is competitive, and they're aggressive, and they are really good as underdogs because they fight hard. They take advantage of their opportunities, and they're kind of a weird team to play. Teams haven't really figured them out yet. They're at number 29. At number 28, the Las Vegas Raiders. I have them at 28, and people say I'm biased towards the Raiders, but man, they have not proven to me that they are a very good team whatsoever. Now, Jimmy Garoppolo has a concussion. I'm not so sure that Aiden O'Connell would not be an upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo the way he played against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That being said, I still believe Jimmy is an average player, but the way he played against the Steelers in combination with Josh McDaniels' game management decisions lost them that game on Sunday Night Football at home. So I don't want to overreact, but here's the problem with the Raiders. Right now, as we speak, their run game is non-existent. They only throw to 2 receivers. They have no depth at the wide receiving core that they're actually utilizing, right? Renfro, not utilized. Mayer, not utilized. Second round pick. Right? Austin Hooper, not utilized. The only guys that Jimmy throws to are the 2 receivers, Adams and Myers. Josh Jacobs looks slow and out of shape. The defense can't really rush the passer. Max Crosby's all alone. The secondary can't cover. They struggled against a bad Steelers offense, so I have them at number 28 right now. They could improve. They could get better. I think they will move up on the list, but they just did not perform well, and they showed their flaws on Sunday night. At number 27, the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans have one of the most promising young quarterbacks in the sport right now. CJ Stroud is playing out of his mind to the level of a historic rookie season so far. 900 yards in 3 games. He's been absolutely spectacular. He's attempted 140 passes, something like that, in 3 games, which is absolutely insane for a rookie quarterback to be trusted the way he has. He's extremely accurate. He's extremely poised. He's making all the big throws. And this receiving core is better than I gave it credit for. Tank Dell showing up big time as a rookie this season. Robert Woods coming through with a few catches. Nico Collins stretching the field. They need to get their offensive line back intact and healthy, and then that run game can start to get going. And this all of a sudden could be a very underrated, deceptively good offense. And the defense is well schooled. They fight hard. They don't have a lot of upper echelon talent, and some of them are injured, which does hurt. But the Texans are a well-coached team with a young quarterback that's going to make plays and going to make throws and going to keep them in games. So I like the Texans moving forward. They're at least watchable this season. At number 26, the New York G-Men. Yes, the Giants rank very low for me at number 26. They got slaughtered by the 49ers. They beat the Cardinals. That's great. They were really a comeback in that game. The Cardinals fell apart in that second half. And without that comeback, you're looking at one of the worst teams on my power rankings because they had one good half this NFL season after making the playoffs last year. But the problem with the Giants right now, in my personal opinion, is this offensive line might be the worst in football. They can't maintain their blocks. They can't block anybody. And anytime they play an upper echelon pass rush, they're going to lose the game, and they're going to lose it by a lot. The Giants have a big spot this week. They have a chance to get to 2-2. They have a chance. They're at home. They play Seattle. Seattle has to travel across the country on Monday Night Football. It's a big spot. The Giants have to win this game. They have a chance. I think I might even pick them to win. It's a great spot for them, but they have to come through. They might move up if they do win that game. There doesn't get to be any better spot than playing a West Coast team on Monday night. So the Giants have to come through, right? Daniel Jones, he is just given no hope behind this offensive line. Saquon out really hurts the dimension and the balance of this offense. And defensively, they're just too blitz happy. I mean, I understand they were outmanned and outgunned against the 49ers, but you're not going to surprise anybody just blitzing every single down. So they need to figure out how to be a more well-rounded, schematic approach defensively. At number 26. At number 25, the Minnesota Vikings, losing on the last play of the game to the Los Angeles Chargers. They were handed a victory by Brandon Staley, and the Vikings, in typical Viking fashion, said, "No, sir, we do not want to win this game." But despite that, they still have a dynamic offense that I really respect. TJ Hawkinson, Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson. They got Cam Akers in the backfield to go along with Alexander Mattison. The O-line still doing decent enough given the injuries. Jordan Addison, I mean, he's looked pretty good as a rookie. So they've got a lot to give you in the passing game, and they're going to pass on most teams in this league. They have that type of talent at the receiving core, and Cousins can hit you accurately everywhere on the field. But defensively, they're a problem. They're not good. They actually performed well against the run, and Flores will do that with his scheme, but they just have no cover corners, very little pass rush. It forces them to blitz, which exposes their corners, and they're just in trouble every time a quarterback with decent ability drops back. They'll win some games on the back of their offense. Maybe they'll start to get going now. They're still dangerous in any game given their offense in any shootout type of game, but they're just not winning the close games that they were winning last year. At number 25. At number 24, the New York Jets. Lose. The New York Jets are number 24. They still have a good defense, but I don't think it's as spectacular as the reputation suggests. I heard somebody say they're the 85 Bears in week number 1. Yeah, they had a great week number 1. They turned the football over. They got after Josh Allen. They won that game against the Bills. But since then, they were torn apart piece by piece, play by play by the Dallas Cowboys, running the football, keeping balance, Dak Prescott doing his thing. And then in week 3, they allowed 380 yards and were kind of fortunate to stay in that game against the Patriots. They were outgained by 200 yards by New England. Zach Wilson is an absolute disaster, and he has to rank as the worst starting quarterback in the league. And the offensive line is right there with the Giants, vying for the worst in the league and the worst in New York. The Jets are a bad offense that has very little going for it. And the defense, I think, is susceptible right now in a way that maybe we didn't think before the season. So at number 24, the Jets. At number 23, the Washington Commanders were absolutely slaughtered by a good football team this week. They got away with wins against a bad Cardinals team and a terrible Broncos team. But in week number 3, they came back down to earth playing an elite Bills team, and it showed. They were at home. The defense for the Bills dominated a young Sam Howell who was confused, who was absolutely beside himself, turnovers left and right, pressure left and right, sacks left and right. Sam Howell, you got to get rid of the ball, buddy. The Washington defense is what's very concerning to me right now. Like, they're just not playing to the level expected. The pass rush is not getting enough pressure, enough sacks, enough game-changing plays. They've got a big game against the Eagles in the division this next week. They're still 2-1, and this team I feel is going to be a roller coaster all year long, which makes them very tough to bet on. They played the Eagles well last year. Will they step their game up this week? They're at number 23, a tough one for me to rank. At number 22, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They, as well as the Commanders, undefeated teams entering week 3, brought back down to earth after a dominant performance that the Eagles laid on them. The Bucs, yeah, they beat the Vikings in Minnesota, a team that's 0-3. They beat the worst team in football, the Chicago Bears. That's fantastic. Now they play a real team in the Eagles and they lose. And the most depressing part about it was getting physically dominated at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. That's what happened to the Bucs in week number 3. It could have been more competitive if Mike Evans caught a couple more passes, if Baker made a couple more plays offensively. They've got to figure out their run game offensively, or this team's not going to have a hope to win this division. I do think they'll be in it because I think their defense when healthy is good, but I'm concerned about the depth of the defense. We see the corner position just evaporate before our eyes. No Carlton Davis, Jamel Dean banged up constantly throughout that game. That's big question marks for me. The Bucks, they need to play good defense. They need to be able to run the ball better moving forward. Too much is on Baker to make this thing happen, and that's not a winning formula with Todd Bowles as your head coach. So at number 22, I have the Bucks. At number 21, the Indianapolis Colts. A shocking win over the Ravens. I actually called this as a surprising upset potentially this week, and it happened. That being said, it didn't quite happen the way that I thought it would. It was kind of fluky. It was in Baltimore, and I give them a lot of credit for going on the road outside of their comfy dome and winning this game, and winning it with grit and winning it with power in a way that the Colts, the good teams of the Colts over the last few years, have really won, right? Running the football. Zach Moss had a good game, 30 attempts, 122 yards. They were able to turn the football over, be very, very opportunistic defensively. They were able to rush the quarterback. They were able to force mistakes, pop the ball out of Kenyon Drake, pop the ball out of Lamar Jackson, him making mistakes, cashing in when they needed to. And yeah, they got a little lucky with some ref calls. They got a little lucky with some Justin Tucker missing the field goal. But that's a really good Baltimore team. They were able to go into their building and win. That's impressive no matter what. The Colts have surprised me so far this year. Minshew, Richardson, it doesn't matter. I think they're about the same team. They're a little bit different in their schematics, but they're about the same team. I think this is a team that will vie for the division. I really do. I don't think they're out of this thing whatsoever. I think they've showed that they are a little bit better than people thought from a coaching standpoint, from a quarterback standpoint. Their offensive lines play better. Their defense is playing competitive despite a very lacking secondary. So at number 21, the Colts. At number 20, the Los Angeles Chargers. For no other reason than they have Justin Herbert, a guy that had one of the most ridiculous historic games we've ever seen, throwing an 85 completion percentage against a Vikings team that was blitzing him left, right, and center all day long. He was still completing passes accurately, on the money, consistently, under pressure, and Herbert was making just the most out of a terrible coaching situation where they basically give the ball to the Vikings. The Chargers came up with a clutch turnover in the end to win that game, a clutch interception. J.C. Jackson, don't know what's going on with him. Hopefully the Chargers can figure out their defense eventually, but Brandon Staley has not been a good coach. He is holding this team back 100%. This is a top 10 roster in the NFL, and yet this team is not performing barely like a top 20 team. They are an absolute roller coaster week to week. They'll probably be in every game due to their talent and due to Justin Herbert, but they'll also probably lose games that they shouldn't lose, and they'll probably be in a close game every week, no matter the opponent, because of their coach. So at number 20, I got the Chargers. At number 19, the Tennessee Titans, who beat the Chargers in overtime a couple weeks ago. These two teams are very even for me. Tennessee is a lot uglier, right? The Chargers are a lot more pretty to watch because of Herbert, because of the offense, who no longer has Mike Williams, by the way. The Tennessee Titans are a defensive team. They're a run-stopping, special teams, great punter. Right? They have the best punter in the NFL by far. That guy is freaking phenomenal, bro. I don't talk about punters, but that guy, every time he boots it for 60 yards, is absolutely out of this world. Their run game needs to play better. Their offensive line, if they want a chance at this division, they need to play better. I mean, they have another tough test this week against Cincinnati. They are at home. They did win their first home game against the Chargers. We'll see how they perform. They're playing a really, not looking 100% Joe Burrow. Maybe they can take advantage of this situation. But man, their offense needs to protect the quarterback better. If they're not able to do that, they're going nowhere this year. And even despite great defense, they're not going to be able to win. So at number 19, the Titans. Love Mike Vrabel, but you got to figure out the offensive line. At number 18, the Pittsburgh Steelers. More stability offensively coming from the Steelers lately. Kenny Pickett played one of his best games we've seen him play in a while at the quarterback position for the Steelers on Sunday night in a big spot in a big game that could really help them catapult them into the wild card window here. Their defense is playing unbelievably opportunistic football. Another multiple turnover game that helped them win on Sunday Night Football. TJ Watt is unblockable. He is scary every single time. I bet against the Steelers the last 2 weeks, and I'm scared to watch the offensive line of the opposing team block TJ Watt every single snap. And then you got to deal with Alex Highsmith. Cameron Hayward's out. But I feel like Tomlin's doing a great job coaching this defense. I think they're doing a great job at scheming up their coverages with their rush. And then offensively, they're starting to slowly figure it out. It just so happens that when you play the Browns and the Niners in the first 2 weeks, you look like a really bad offense. I think that's going to happen to a lot of people at number 18. At number 17, the Los Angeles Rams, who have dropped 2 straight after an impressive Week 1 victory. The Rams, I just feel like, they played the Niners and they played the Bengals, 2 teams that I think are top 10 teams. Despite the Bengals having some difficulties in the first 2 weeks, I still believe in them long term, so I'm not going to go over dramatic here. Matthew Stafford needs to play better than he did on Monday night. But that being said, a lot of it came down to the lack of protection. They were overwhelmed by Trey Hendrickson and company, DJ Reader and company. And when the Rams aren't able to run the ball, it really makes them susceptible to the drop back passing game where their offensive line is really exposed, especially when Noteboom gets hurt. He's a good left tackle. I've got to believe it. I mean, every time he gets out of this game, this team has given up sacks, given up hurries, given up pressure. So Stafford, I feel like with this receiving course, trying to make the most of it. And McVay's a great coach. I still believe in Stafford, the way he's playing and the way he looks from a physical standpoint. And then defensively, they're just very well coached. They don't have a lot of talent, but they're very well coached. They're young, they're feisty, and they're learning. And Aaron Donald's still Aaron Donald. So at number 17, the Los Angeles Rams, I think they'll bounce back here shortly. At number 16, the New Orleans Saints, a team that had an impressive 17-0 game early on against the Packers, that their quarterback goes down and they lose the game. It's unfortunate, but I don't think their offense has looked that good through 3 weeks. Derek Carr and no Derek Carr, they haven't played the best defenses in the world. It's not like they're the Steelers here. They're not playing the Niners. They're not playing the Browns. They haven't played the Patriots yet. They haven't played the Cowboys. These are defenses that are okay, right? The Falcons, the Panthers defense. They played the Titans defense. They played the Packers defense. All defenses that I would say are like not quite in the top 10, but they're like in the 10 to 15 range. And I think they've been on the lower end of the stick on all those matchups. They have not played well, and they have not been able to protect the quarterback quite as well as a lot of people thought. They have been giving and surrendering a lot of pressure. That being said, their receiving core has been really, really good, and I've been a big fan of what I've seen from guys like Shaheed, Chris Olave, and even Michael Thomas this year. Kamara back will definitely help, but now that Derek Carr's banged up, that's going to bring some inconsistencies to his accuracy, I believe, with that AC joint sprain. We'll see if Jameis is able to step up. Defensively, they're playing like a top 10 defense. They're stopping the run. They are doing a really good job in coverage. I think the combination of their ability to stop the run and their ability to cover man-to-man is allowing their defense to be an elite unit so far this year. So at number 16, very average, the New Orleans Saints. At number 15, the Jacksonville Jags. I've moved them down on the list, but I'm not quite giving up on them yet. I still believe that Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence will figure this thing out. I've been critical. After the loss to the Texans, you've got to be critical because I understand they lose to the Texans every year, it feels like. But Jacksonville's got to... At this point, they're expected to do big things. They're expected to win a ton of games. And they're 1-2. They played like absolute booty offensively against the Chiefs, especially in the red zone. And their defense has been a roller coaster to watch this year. They allowed way too many yards through the air. I think their passing defense is still far too inconsistent. And then Lawrence and this offense needs to figure it out. And their offensive line has been one of the worst in football, in my opinion. So at number 15, Jacksonville. At number 14, the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons, 2 things I like about them. I like Arthur Smith. I like how their defense is playing above my expectation. Even in that game against the Lions, they held the Lions under, a respectable total. Like, they weren't terrible. They weren't atrocious. It was Desmond Ridder. And Desmond Ridder is holding back this team from being a top 10 team. If they had a competent quarterback, let's just say they had a Jimmy Garoppolo on this team, I feel like they would be a top 12, top 10 team in this league. Desmond Ridder is so inconsistent, takes too many sacks. He can't throw the ball down the field. He's inaccurate. He doesn't read defenses well. He's not even that great as a runner. So what does he really bring to the table here other than the off the field things that Arthur Smith and this staff have a crush on him for? I don't really get it. The run game's spectacular. The defense has played good. They can lean into that, but not against good football teams. They will be exposed. At number 13, my New England Patriots. This one was tough. I could have ranked the Patriots at number 12. I could have ranked the Patriots at number 15, depending on your perspective. But so far, when you look at what the Patriots have done, they've lost close games against the Philadelphia Eagles, top 5 team in the NFL, the Miami Dolphins, top 5 team in the NFL, 2 of the 5 best offenses in the NFL in different facets. Arguably the best passing offense in the NFL in Miami, and arguably the best running offense in the NFL in Philadelphia. And they lost both those games by 1 score, and they could have won both of those games. And then in week 3, they beat the Jets. They beat Zach Wilson. They take care of business. They should have won by more. They missed 2 field goals, right? They outgained them by 200 yards, and they still only win by 5 points. It's just the way the Patriots are going to play right now. Their offensive line's figuring it out. They had the best running game of their season against a good Jets defense in a monsoon, by the way. It was very much rainy, pouring rain out there. Mac Jones is figuring it out. Bill O'Brien's tweaking things offensively. I think they'll progress as an offense, but this is maybe the best defense in the NFL. It's at least the most schemed, week to week, reliable defense. It might not be at peak the best defense in the NFL, but reliably, it might be the best. In any matchup, you can ask them to hold their opponent to 24 or less in any matchup. So, and they're without 3 of their best corners. At number 13, I got the Patriots and Belichick. At number 12, I got the Seattle Seahawks and Pete Carroll. The Seahawks just are kind of the opposite of New England. They have a super explosive offense that will dice up basically, 90% of defenses in this league. And their defense is kind of lackluster, and they'll allow a lot of yards and a lot of points, which allows a lot of teams to stay in games with them. But this is a team figuring it out, and they're a team that's banged up as well, so they have a lot of upside. Their offense, once they get their offensive line pieces back, that will very much help the stability of their pass protection. And then defensively, they need some pieces back. And once they get those pieces back, especially in the secondary, I think there's a lot to improve upon. Jamal Adams is expected back on Monday night. Geno's playing really well, really accurate and consistent football right now the last couple of games. And they're running the football much better. At least they did against Carolina. Kenneth Walker is amazing. I mean, this guy will have a 20-yard run, get called back for holding, and then get the next play and run for 12 yards, breaking 3 tackles. I mean, unbelievable. DK Metcalf's a beast. And the defense, they just need more consistency and just to be able to hold teams under 20 points. If they can do that, they can beat a lot of teams in this league. At number 11, the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers, I still feel, are one of the most underrated teams by the public, one of the most underrated teams by a majority of analysts, and one of the most underrated teams by Vegas. The Green Bay Packers have consistently been underrated throughout the offseason and early this season because people don't quite buy Jordan Love. But I'll tell you this, they come back against the New Orleans Saints, a team that I rank 16th in the NFL. The New Orleans Saints, a team that has a really good defense. The Packers did not have 5 of their 7 best players. Their left tackle, all-pro. Their left guard, borderline all-pro. A wide receiver in Christian Watson who's a game-breaking weapon. One of the top 10 running backs in football in Aaron Jones. And arguably the best corner in football in Jair Alexander. They beat the Saints, who are nearly fully healthy, without 5 of those players. That is extremely impressive. I don't care that Derek Carr got hurt. This Packers defense is playing better than I thought. Their pass rush is really, really good right now. And once they get Alexander back, they're really going to lock people up in the passing game. They have a slight deficiency in the run game, but not a lot of teams can really take advantage of it consistently. And then Jordan Love's going to continue to get better. Matt LaFleur's going to continue to dial things up and really get this team to flow offensively, especially when Watson comes back. It's really going to help their passing game. So at number 11, the Packers. They look like a legit NFC team. Entering the top 10, I still got the Bengals. I haven't really wavered having the Bengals inside my top 10. I'm going to keep them here because they won a game against the Rams. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't super impressive. There wasn't a lot of style points. You're not getting a game breaker anytime soon. But the Cincinnati Bengals defensively stepped up big time. And that's what really impressed me. And I think that's what's going to carry through to prop up Joe Burrow. The defense understands Joe is not 100%. We've got to play better. And Trey Hendrickson takes over the game. DJ Reader, this defensive line with Sam Hubbard, take over the game. The linebacker position, one of the best in football. Wilson, 2 picks, I think. And then the secondary, what I love about the secondary is they can blitz, they can cover, they can play man, they can play zone. Against the Rams, they pretty much said, hey, your receivers stink. You got no Cooper Kupp. We're not just going to let Stafford sit back there and play zone coverage and let him pick us apart. We're going to get in your face. We're going to play press coverage. We're going to make Nakua beat us and not just sit in that soft spot. So at number 10, Cincinnati. I think they're figuring things out defensively, and they're slowly but surely getting back to Cincinnati of old on offense. At number 9, the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens would be higher, but their injuries are killing me right now. I thought they were very, 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 very unlucky against the Indianapolis Colts. I think the luck will turn, but they need to get healthier. They need to get Ronnie Stanley back at left tackle. He's been a big deficiency without him. The center, it would be nice to have Tyler Linderbaum back. Obviously, Odell would be nice to have back, but Nelson Aguilar stepped up without him. And defensively, they need Marlon Humphrey. Marlon Humphrey changes the math for this defense. They've been playing well defensively, though. I mean, even in that game against the Colts, I think they allowed like 3 yards per play. So the Ravens are a very well-coached team on really both sides of the ball. Lamar is a spectacular quarterback that is able to carry teams, and you're not going to see Justin Tucker miss a 60. You're not going to see him miss any kicks that often. So at number 9, the Ravens will bounce back. At number 8, the Cleveland Browns. This one was tough. The only reason I have the Browns above the Ravens is the Ravens' injuries. But I would have the Ravens above the Browns if not for the injuries currently. But the Browns right now are playing like the best defense in football. I understand they've played the Steelers, and I understand they've played the Titans, and I understand they've played a Bengals team that Burrow wasn't 100%. They looked really bad. They played offensive lines that were susceptible to their pass rush. And we'll see how it looks against a beat-up Ravens offensive line. This will be the best quarterback that, in the best form, I should say, so far that they've played this season in Lamar Jackson, and the best offense they've played this season. So we'll see a real test this week in a different regard against Lamar and company. But the defense is legit, and Deshaun played his best game against a Titans team that's not easy to play good offense against. So at number 8, Cleveland. At number 7, the Detroit Lions. Despite their injuries, they stepped up and they shut down Atlanta. I thought their run defense was extremely impressive. Jared Goff is playing at a top 10 level right now. They're protecting him despite injuries to their left tackle and other players. Laporta looking like a home run. Brian Branch looking like a home run. The funny thing is, those are looking like their first round picks and not their first round picks. Despite Jahmyr Gibbs having all the talent in the world, still feels like he should be playing better or doing more or being more productive for this team. Amon-Ra is uncoverable on third down, and I think they'll continue to click on offense. The defense, I think, is going to be hit and miss. I think they're going to have games where if a team has one thing that they're good at but not another thing, they'll be able to get by, right? If they're really good with the pass, I think they'll be able to get by. But not able to run the ball, they'll get by. But if they can really run the ball and not pass, then they're going to, especially in that regard, I think Atlanta was a really good matchup for them. I'm a little bit more concerned against a team like Green Bay that has a little bit of balance in the pass and the run game. A little bit more concerned once they play the top teams in the NFC like Seattle or like San Francisco, Dallas, Philly, where they can beat you passing or running. But I feel like Detroit is a really good offense that can keep up to a lot of teams on the scoreboard. So at number 7, Detroit. At number 6, the Dallas Cowboys. They moved from number 1 to number 6. This is probably an overreaction, and I understand that. But Trayvon Diggs certainly made them slide from number 1 to number 3 for me after that injury. And then a loss to the Cardinals will move you down just because I didn't feel like it was just luck for the Cowboys. They were thoroughly outplayed by one of the worst teams in the NFL, which has to be concerning. I know that it was probably just a blip in the radar, but I have to respect it, so I got to put them at number 6. Dak Prescott didn't play well enough. Their offensive line beat up, did not play well enough. Their red zone offense was atrocious, and their defense, played for the first time this season very, very poorly. So at number 6, Dallas. At number 5, the Philadelphia Eagles. I was still going to rank the Cowboys above the Eagles, but look, the Eagles are undefeated, the Cowboys aren't. And I'm just going to put the undefeated team above them. Jalen Hurts, I still think, is the better quarterback between Dak and Jalen Hurts. The O-line of the Eagles is just a cheat code. I don't know what to say. Like, the rest of their team, like, they've got a great receiver duo. They've got a decent defense. I think their defense is a little fake. Like, I think good offenses will be able to pass the ball against them. And if you can protect, you can dice them up. But Jalen Carter's been a monster. Their pass rush is decent. And their run defense, I think that's the thing that's shocked me. They are really legit in run defense so far. They have been shutting down every run game they have played so far. But that being said, they have played the Patriots, the Vikings, and the Bucks. 3 teams that are not very good at running the ball. But I do feel like it's pretty real. So the Eagles, as long as they can keep stopping the run, they'll be able to put teams in uncomfortable spots. They'll be able to dictate the pace of the game. And their run offense is just ludicrous. So at number 5, I have the Eagles. At number 4, I got the Buffalo Bills, led by Josh Allen. McDermott's defense is cooking right now. Matt Milano and company. Bernard coming out of nowhere as a rookie linebacker. And the pass rush played really well against Washington. The secondary is a bunch of vets that know what they're doing. And the offense actually has some balance. I think that's the biggest and brightest news about Buffalo. James Cook might be real. He's had back-to-back super awesome games. So at number 4, the Bills. At number 3, the Miami Dolphins. Not number 1 for me. I think they're number 3. They've got an awesome offense, probably the best in football right now. So much creativity, so much flair, so much excitement, so much electricity, so much speed. Tua's getting the ball out faster than a speeding bullet. And they're just playing such great offensive football from a scheme standpoint, from a protection standpoint, from a run game standpoint, from a pass game standpoint. Without Jalen Waddle, 70 points speaks for itself. Defensively, though, I think they're very susceptible. Not been a fan of their defense this year so far, and that's what holds them back at number 3. At number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, this is the difference for me between the Chiefs and the Dolphins. Chiefs are tested. Chiefs are long-term tested. They're champions. They know how to win big games. The Dolphins, I have yet to see that. They've got a big game this week against Buffalo. Prove me wrong, Miami. Right? Patrick Mahomes against Tua. I think Mahomes is the better guy. I think Reed is better than McDaniel, despite Tua and McDaniel doing great things this year. But the biggest difference is the Chiefs' defense. The Chiefs' defense is a top 10 unit right now, and I think the Chiefs have a top 10 offense when they're clicking. Probably top 5. So, yeah, they don't have great receivers. But with Taylor Swift on their side, they'll be shaking off the haters. I had to do it. I'm sorry. At number 1, the San Francisco 49ers, the most complete team in football. You want to run the ball? You got the 49ers. You want to pass the ball? You got Brock Purdy and the 49ers. You want to defend the run? You got the 49ers. You want to stop the pass? You got the 49ers. You want to play special teams? You got the 49ers. It doesn't really matter what you want them to do, what you force them into doing. Play them left-handed, play them right-handed, play them both-handed. It doesn't even matter. This team is spectacular. They're loaded. They're well-rounded. They're a championship team in the making. Brock Purdy has just got the testicular fortitude. He's got I understand he makes some bad throws every once in a while. I get it. But with McCaffrey on their side, Kittle on their side, Debo on their side, Brandon Ayuk didn't even play against the Giants. Slaughtered them. Defensively, they're just getting started. Niners are the best team in the NFL. You won't be told different. Those are my power rankings entering week number 4 of the 2023 NFL season. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, Gronk spiked the like button. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on my power rankings. And subscribe for weekly NFL power rankings. It's Mitch. Thank you so much. And we'll see you tomorrow for my NFL picks and best bets. Peace.